hidden deep within the jungles of Southeast Asia, beyond unmarked roads, past rivers that don't appear on most maps, there exists a shadow economy worth tens of billions of dollars. An empire built not with steel or concrete, but with chemicals, fear, and addiction. For decades, one region has remained at the center of the global drug trade. A place whispered about in intelligence briefings, feared by governments, and mythologized by criminals. They call it the Golden Triangle. And for years, its drug factories operated almost untouchable. Until now. In a raid described as the largest drug production site seizure in Myanmar's history, authorities uncovered a vast, industrial-scale narcotics operation hidden in plain sight. Massive laboratories, tons of precursor chemicals, enough drugs to flood entire continents. But this was more than just a police operation. It was a rare glimpse inside one of the most secretive criminal ecosystems on Earth. Tonight, we take you inside Myanmar's biggest drug raid ever, the forces behind it, the cartels that run it, and the global consequences that extend far beyond Myanmar's borders. To understand this raid, you must first understand where it happened. The Golden Triangle is the mountainous border region where Myanmar, Laos, and Thailand meet. For decades, it has been one of the world's most notorious drug-producing regions. Once famous for opium, now infamous for synthetic drugs, methamphetamine, heroin, ketamine, fentanyl analogs. Unlike coca leaves or poppy fields, synthetic drugs don't rely on seasons or farmland. They require chemists, precursors, and secrecy. And the Golden Triangle offers all three. Rugged terrain makes surveillance difficult. Ethnic militias control vast territories. And decades of conflict have weakened central authority. In many areas, armed groups act as governments, collecting taxes, enforcing laws, and, critically, protecting drug operations. This isn't just crime. It's an industry. In the past, drug production meant hidden huts, small labs, low output. But today's narcotics trade has evolved. Authorities now face industrial-scale drug factories, operations that resemble pharmaceutical plants more than criminal hideouts. Steel reactors, hydraulic presses, kilometers of tubing, warehouses stacked with chemicals. These labs can produce millions of pills per week. And Myanmar has quietly become one of the world's largest producers of synthetic drugs. Why? Because synthetic drugs are cheap to make, easy to transport, and devastatingly profitable. One shipment can be worth more than gold or weapons. And unlike traditional drugs, production can run 24 hours a day. That's the scale of what investigators suspected. But even they were unprepared for what they would find. The operation began quietly. Intelligence had been building for months, possibly years. Satellite imagery, human informants, intercepted communications. Authorities believed a major drug operation was hidden in a remote region of eastern Myanmar. But access was dangerous. This was not ordinary territory. It was controlled by armed groups, far from major cities, where law enforcement presence was rare and often unwelcome. Still, the order was given. Security forces moved in. What they discovered exceeded every expectation. Behind layers of jungle camouflage, inside multiple fortified structures, authorities uncovered one of the largest drug production facilities ever found in Myanmar. Not one lab, but many. Connected buildings, chemical storage units, production lines running end to end. Thousands of kilograms of precursor chemicals. Enough to manufacture drugs worth billions of dollars on the street. Methamphetamine in both crystal and pill form. Heroin in various stages of refinement. Equipment imported from overseas. Some machinery was so advanced, investigators initially believed it belonged to a legitimate pharmaceutical operation. This wasn't a makeshift lab. It was a drug factory city. During the raid, authorities seized massive quantities of methamphetamine, heroin and opium derivatives, chemical precursors used to synthesize narcotics, industrial-grade lab equipment, packaging materials ready for export, documents and ledgers tracking shipments and payments. Officials described the haul as record-breaking. Some estimates suggested the seized materials could have produced hundreds of millions of doses. Drugs destined not just for Southeast Asia, but for Australia, East Asia, and potentially Europe. The scale revealed something terrifying. This wasn't a local operation. This was global trafficking infrastructure. So who built this empire? The truth is complex. Drug operations in Myanmar are rarely run by a single cartel. Instead, they exist within a web of transnational crime syndicates, local militia protection, corrupt officials, international chemical suppliers, money laundering networks. Some groups control production, others handle transport, others manage distribution. It's a decentralized system designed to survive raids like this one. Arrests were made, but many of the masterminds remain unknown. And that's by design. In the Golden Triangle, anonymity is power. Myanmar has endured decades of civil conflict. Armed ethnic groups have long financed themselves through illicit economies. Drugs offer what few other commodities can: fast cash, low overhead, high demand. For some militias, drug production funds weapons, recruits, and territorial control. That reality complicates enforcement. Every raid is not just a law enforcement operation, but a potential flashpoint in an ongoing war. This makes the success of this raid even more remarkable. The drugs produced in this facility were not meant to stay in Myanmar. Routes extended through Thailand, Laos, China, Malaysia, Indonesia, Australia. From there, profits flowed through shell companies, cryptocurrency wallets, and offshore accounts. Synthetic drugs from the Golden Triangle have been linked to rising overdose rates across the Asia-Pacific region. This raid didn't just stop a factory. It disrupted a global supply chain. This raid matters because it proves something critical. These operations are not invincible. Even in the most remote regions, even behind armed protection, they can be found. But it also reveals the scale of the challenge ahead. For every lab destroyed, others may remain hidden. For every shipment seized, others slip through. The drug trade adapts, evolves, and waits. Behind every drug seizure is a human story. Addiction, families destroyed, communities hollowed out. Synthetic drugs are among the most destructive substances ever created. They're cheap, highly addictive, and brutally efficient at ruining lives. This raid prevented untold suffering. But it also reminds us how much remains at risk. Deep in the jungles of Myanmar, the shadows still move. The Golden Triangle remains one of the most dangerous narcotics regions on Earth. This raid was historic. But the war is far from over. As long as demand exists, as long as profit outweighs risk, new labs will rise, new routes will form, and the cycle will continue, until the next door is kicked in, until the next secret factory is exposed, until the shadows are forced back into the light.